On Friday, September 6, 2024, the powerful and destructive Typhoon Yagi made a devastating landfall on Hainan, a renowned tropical vacation island in southern China. The storm unleashed its full force across the region, disrupting the daily lives of millions and causing widespread devastation. The impact was so severe that it prompted mass evacuations, marking one of the largest emergency operations in recent memory for this area. Typhoon Yagi had earlier swept past Hong Kong, leaving a trail of damage before veering towards mainland China, where it was destined to unleash its full fury on Hainan. By the time it reached the island, its destructive potential had grown immensely. The storm's violent approach forced around 1 million people in southern China to flee their homes in an urgent attempt to escape its wrath, creating a scene of panic and haste. Meteorological authorities in Hainan issued urgent warnings ahead of Typhoon Yagi's landfall. The storm, with winds reaching an incredible 245 kilometers per hour near its core, made landfall in Wuchang City. This landfall was significant in Chinese history, as the National Meteorological Service declared Yagi the strongest autumn typhoon to have ever made landfall in the country. This distinction highlighted the storm's extraordinary power and the catastrophic damage it would leave behind. Wuchang City, known for its rich history and agricultural significance, bore the brunt of Yagi's direct impact, with widespread destruction reported throughout the city. In anticipation of the typhoon's arrival, Chinese authorities mobilized a massive evacuation effort. Nearly 420,000 residents in Hainan were ordered to evacuate their homes and seek shelter in safer areas. In the neighboring province of Guangdong, another 500,000 people were relocated to higher ground or more secure shelters, bringing the total number of evacuees to nearly 1 million. This swift and large-scale evacuation was a testament to the severity of the storm and the significant threat it posed to human life. State media played a critical role in disseminating information, warning citizens of the potential for disaster, and emphasizing the importance of leaving vulnerable areas before the storm's arrival. As Typhoon Yagi approached, it began to unleash torrential rain across much of Hainan. The relentless downpour triggered severe flooding in several low-lying areas, overwhelming drainage systems and submerging streets. In some coastal cities, the storm's surge pushed seawater far inland, swamping roads, homes, and businesses. The flooding was compounded by widespread power outages, leaving thousands of people stranded in darkened homes without access to critical resources. Emergency crews worked tirelessly to restore power and rescue those trapped in flooded areas. But the scale of the storm's destruction made these efforts increasingly difficult. One of the more dramatic scenes unfolded along Hainan's iconic coastline, where strong winds battered the region's famed coconut trees. These tall, slender trees, a symbol of the island's tropical beauty, were bent nearly to their breaking point by the ferocious winds. Many snapped under the pressure, crashing onto nearby roads and buildings, further complicating rescue efforts. Residents in coastal areas scrambled to protect their homes, stacking sandbags in front of doors and windows in a desperate attempt to keep floodwaters at bay. Some reinforced their windows with layers of tape, hoping to prevent them from shattering in the storm's powerful gusts. A particularly haunting image emerged from Haikou, Hainan's bustling capital city. The city's large Ferris wheel was caught in the fierce winds, spinning wildly out of control. Despite no riders being aboard, the sight of the giant wheel twirling uncontrollably in the storm became a powerful visual representation of the typhoon's intensity. It was an eerie and unsettling moment that captured the profound impact of the storm on daily life in the region.
他们看到玻璃都碎掉了，我不敢过去。
Meanwhile, in the coastal areas of Guangdong province, Typhoon Yagi continued its violent onslaught. Xiwen, a town located on the coast of the province, was particularly hard hit. Here, winds reached level 9 on the Beaufort scale, strong enough to cause significant structural damage to buildings, while monstrous waves, some exceeding 6 meters in height, pummeled the shoreline. These waves crashed against seawalls, piers, and coastal infrastructure, causing widespread damage and leaving behind a path of destruction. The combination of strong winds and towering waves made coastal areas in Guangdong extremely dangerous, and authorities urged residents to stay indoors and avoid venturing outside until the storm had passed. In response to the life-threatening conditions, authorities across southern China implemented widespread closures and suspensions of public activities. Schools and workplaces were shut down, public transportation systems were halted, and businesses shuttered their doors. Tourist attractions, normally buzzing with visitors, were also closed, as officials worked to ensure the safety of both locals and tourists. Some of Hainan's most popular landmarks, including its beaches and resorts, were temporarily off limits, a rare occurrence for the island that thrives on tourism. After making landfall in Hainan, Typhoon Yagi was predicted to continue its destructive path, making a second landfall somewhere between Fangchenggang City in Guangxi and northern Vietnam by Saturday afternoon. In preparation for this second wave of destruction, the coastal city of Beihai in Guangxi province suspended all work, school, business operations, and public transportation by Friday. Authorities in Beihai issued stern warnings to residents, urging them to remain indoors and to take all necessary precautions to protect themselves and their families from the impending storm. Throughout the region, meteorological services issued urgent alerts, advising residents and tourists alike to stay informed by following updates from weather authorities. These warnings emphasize the critical need for people to avoid unnecessary travel and to remain indoors until the storm had fully passed.
我们觉得马路人的对有的一对有的係往只食咯，怕來得來就啊，我哋冇多漏呢。
The Hainan Provincial Meteorological Observatory played a central role in providing real-time updates on the storm's progression, helping to guide evacuation efforts and ensure the safety of those in the storm's path. Yagi's devastating journey began earlier in the week, when it first developed into a tropical storm. The storm formed over the waters of the South China Sea, after moving away from the northwestern Philippines on Wednesday. In its early stages, Yagi affected over 2 million people across the northern and central provinces of the Philippines, where communities were already vulnerable to natural disasters. Heavy rains and strong winds lashed the region, causing flooding and landslides in areas still recovering from previous storms. The intensity of Typhoon Yagi, like other recent storms, has raised growing concerns about the impact of climate change on the frequency and strength of typhoons in the region. As ocean temperatures rise, fueled by global warming, tropical storms are becoming more powerful. Warmer sea surface temperatures provide additional energy to these storms, causing them to intensify more quickly and become more destructive. In addition, a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, resulting in heavier rainfall during storms, which in turn leads to more severe flooding. The combination of these factors makes typhoons like Yagi not only more frequent but also more dangerous. Scientists are increasingly pointing to these trends as a consequence of climate change, warning that without global efforts to curb rising temperatures, the world will continue to see storms of this magnitude, with devastating consequences.